Hello, A to Z Sports, prime time on a Tuesday night. I'm your host, Easton Freeze, Titans beat writer, reporter here at A to Z Sports Nashville, and I am having a great day. Thank you so much for asking. I hope that you all are as well. Lots to talk about tonight. Going to talk about what this team is doing to itself, all of these problems this team has, systematic problems, fundamental problems. Why are they doing this to themselves, and what does it mean about the future? That's basically what we can boil today's show down to. We're going to talk about the contract extensions that I reported on last night. The Titans gave additional years worth of contracts to basically the entire Callahan staff over the summer. I'll talk about that report, what it means, and what I think it says about this team's leadership. There's a damning element to it that I think some people are getting and some people are not, and I want to maybe clear the air a little bit on that. Then we're going to talk about the trades the Titans have made so far. A couple of cornerbacks, obviously. One this week, Roger McCreary, sent to L.A., and one a couple of weeks ago, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., sent to the Jets. One of them we know is a good player, McCreary, and no one's going to be surprised if he's doing fun things in LA and showing up on highlight reels. And I don't think it'll be dunking on the Titans per se, because his situation is dissimilar from Brownlee's, who he was sent away and people questioned whether or not the team thought he was actually a good player or not. And he's been playing really, really well for the Jets. Kind of talk through that. But really, I want to get down to the real reason why the Titans made the trades that they did. And once again, it all ties back, in my opinion, to their constant regime change and how regime change victimizes good players. And this is not a Titans problem. This is a everybody problem. It's a human nature problem. And there are actually a couple of examples outside of the Titans around the league. One even today that we'll talk about and get to the bottom of why this is happening, not explaining it away or rationalizing it or even endorsing the decisions, but explaining why they're happening and how you can get them to stop, how Amy Adams Strunk can get them to stop if she simply changes one thing about her approach to football. So it's all about the problems this team is causing for themselves. Unforced errors tonight, from coaching staff, contracts, to player trades that feel uninspiring, all of that and more, as well as all of your questions, anything that you have on your mind, related or unrelated to tonight's topics. We will answer all of those, so send those in the chat. Hope everybody is having a good one as I see people continue to pile in here into the comments. Hello to Billy and Oiler Hell Billy. Apologies again for, I don't know why YouTube is doing this, just giving me your usernames and not your screen names. But Jack Longley, hello Jack, resident scribe on the Game Day show. How are you? Looks like you've got some shade that we can touch on in a little bit. Lane says, who the hell's playing cornerback? A high school varsity squad. Yes, if you are in the area and you own a Titans jersey, open tryouts, practice tomorrow noon. Be there. Get loose before you come. Be ready to play. We're going to see if anyone can hang with some of these receivers, because it's getting thin out here, brother. I was telling Ross before the show, the Titans made a whole flurry of moves today. Their roster changed a good bit, signing guys, putting guys on IR, putting guys on the practice squad. And, gun to my head right now, I've typed their names out. I've said their names aloud. And right this second, I don't think I can name a single one of them. It's not to say that they're insignificant to me. This is just me not being bad at my job, I guess. But I don't know who these guys are. And I didn't recognize them when they were claimed. And a lot of these fringe guys I tend to recognize from the draft process, but these guys I don't really know. So I guess I'll have to crash course myself on them if they become contributors to the Titans. So jump in the comments, like the show. I have vamped long enough to let people kind of file in here on a Tuesday night. We're ready to roll. Got to tell you about our wonderful and amazing sponsors before we start in on the good stuff. Shout out to our friends at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, located in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. They serve all of Nashville and Middle Tennessee. So if you're searching for a trusted Ford dealership in the area, Two Rivers has you covered. As a leading Ford dealership, they pride themselves on offering an exceptional selection of new and used Ford vehicles, with a particular focus on the ever-popular F-150 and F-250 Super Duty trucks. Their commitment to customer satisfaction and quality service sets them apart from other car dealerships in the area. They are the South's most trusted Ford dealer, so check them out at Two Rivers Ford. Also, shout out to our friends at TrueMav Fitness. They offer more than just your average workout. It's signature programming, a challenging boot camp style class that offers high intensity training. Their classes are led by instructors who are consistently pushing your limits and inspiring you to be your best self, not only inside, but also outside the gym. Your first workout is free. No workouts recycled or repeated. Check them out at TrueMav Fitness here in town. Speaking of here in town, Simon Says Men's Clother. It's destination shopping at Simon Says. You can't shop them online. You have to go into the brick and mortar store and experience it for yourself. Exclusivity is the name of their game. Limited pieces, carefully chosen. And when they are gone, my friend, they are gone. It's a curated selection, every item handpicked for quality, design, and a touch of Nashville character. Personal attention from their knowledgeable staff who is ready to help you discover the perfect piece. It's an experiential shopping trip. It's a store that feels like it was made for you. So make the trip. Visit Simon Says in Nashville today. And finally, our newest sponsor here on the show, T-Dot. Be a part of the solution to end littering. Did you know that there are over 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee's roadways right now? It's a big problem, but we can all be a part of the solution. T-Dot spends over $23 million each year cleaning up litter, but they can't do it all alone. You can help by making simple changes. Stop littering, pick up litter when you see it, and join local cleanups. Every action counts. Tennessee needs all of us to step up. So be part of the solution today and help keep Tennessee beautiful. Visit NobodyTrashesTennessee.com to get involved and see how you can make a difference. And with that, we are off after I get the appropriate T-Dot approved background to, oh, maybe. Did it freeze my camera? It didn't. There we go. Almost forgot that this is a part of what we do around here on Thursday or on Tuesday nights. So shout out to T-Dot and shout out to TrueMath Fitness and shout out to Simon Says and shout out to Two Rivers Ford. And with that, we can talk about the two things that I want to talk about. And the first is the report that I made last night about the Titans extending the coaching staff. So when Brian Callahan was signed in 2024, it was reported. I don't know this firsthand myself. I just know what it was widely reported on the internet, and it seems to be accepted at this point. No one's corrected it, so I'll just roll with it. It sounds right that Brian Callahan got a 5-year contract, roughly $3 million a year. He, of course, served less than a year and a half of that before being fired, the first coach fired in the NFL this season. And so he, as my mom is trying to call me, how dare she not know that I'm doing very important things right now? He was fired, and he is going to be on the hook if he does not get another significant job for another 3.5 years and change. That's not a surprise. He's going to be paid for a long time by the Titans. He joins a recent laundry list of dignitaries fired and paid to not be here anymore by Amy Adams Strunk. Vrabel no longer is that. He was that until he took the Patriots job, and Rand Carthon and John Robinson both still are. John Robinson, I believe, is still under contract through this year, and then Rand, of course, for a while now, because he signed an extension before he got fired. The coordinators, Nick Holtz and Denard Wilson, were both originally signed to 3-year deals. They are currently on those deals. They will be under contract through January 2027. And the rest of the coaching staff is people are distracting me on my phone. I'm putting this thing away because it's ruining my one-man show. People that are now watching me and giving me live comments. The rest of the coaching staff, not Callahan, not his coordinators, were signed to 2-year deals at the beginning of 2024 when they were first signed on, which would have expired at the end of this year. But they were extended over this past summer. Not sure the length of the extension, but sources confirmed in the report that I put out on A to Z Sports last night to me that they all signed, I believe literally all of them, signed extensions through at least January 2027 alongside the coordinators aligning their timelines. And now it's fair to assume that all of them are going to get the axe in 9 games. That means that Amy Adams Strunk will be paying not just Brian Callahan, not just the 2 coordinators that he originally signed on, not just the coordinator that he signed on this past offseason, by the way, Bones Fossil, who it is fair to assume signed more than a 1-year deal. She'll also be paying the entire staff, everybody else's contract, all the way down. And what I kind of regret about my editorializing in that post, because it was mostly a news item, hey, here's some new information that these guys are all under contract. Something that, frankly, the team brings upon themselves when they fire a coach in week 6. We're going to start talking about who's under contract, who might still stay around because they're under contract, and who's going to leave because their contract expires. And when you're a couple of years into a regime, it's fair to ask that question. And I relatively easily came into this information yesterday and put it out there. The editorializing, the take of mine in that article, which I want to make clear here, is that the takeaway, at least in my opinion, is not that the team was foolish to extend the coaching staff. Because, and I don't think people really know this, I didn't know it until I went digging on it, it's just industry standard in the NFL to not leave your coaching staff hanging on the final year of their contract, make them play on a contract year. It's just the way that it's done. That's not a Titans thing, that's an NFL thing. And so it's not like damning in terms of Chad Brinker, assuming he's the one that did this, signing those contracts and extending everybody, even though the team went 3-14. If your rationale is, well, you can't extend them if they're 3, well, industry standard dictates that either you need to fire them because they went 3-14, like back in January, or if you're going to keep them around and express some faith in them, especially, by the way, an element of this that can't be understated, they know and you're about to go into a season in which you're going to be playing a lot of rookies. You're going to be a pretty rough squad, even if things break your way, right? It's a work in progress. This is a remodel, maybe not to the foundation, but at least to the studs, right? Turns out it's down to the foundation, but they didn't know that at the time. There needs to be some security there, right, for these coaches. And so they do the right thing, and frankly, it'd be a really bad look on the Titans if they had refused to do that, because, again, the rest of the league doesn't operate this way. What is damning about this is that you, and by you I mean Amy Adams Strunk, continues to pay people to not work for her. She's built a real reputation of this, right? We know the dignitaries that are this way, and they're the ones making the big money, right? And so I'd be curious. I never will know, but I'd be curious to know what the actual cost of not just Callahan's contract, but like what is the whole coaching staff out of pocket cost? I don't know. It's not insignificant. Like, these guys work really, really long hours and grueling days, and they're compensated fairly. So it's not nothing. But when you continue to do this, and you've got 2 GMs still making big fat contracts on your books, you've got a head coach after you just recently, just this past spring, got the previous head coach you had on the books as dead money. Now you got a new coach as dead money on your contract, on your books. You're about to have the entire coaching staff, save maybe Bones Fossil. Maybe he sticks around. He's really the only guy that I think stands a chance to. You're going to have the rest of them as dead money on your books. And then you're about to, in the spring, hire a whole new staff of guys. And so it brings us to our question, Ross, that we can send in the chat. Do you think that Amy Adams Strunk and Titans leadership will pay for the best coaching staff available in the spring? Because, again, to me, it is damning when you build a reputation for yourself the way that Amy has, of constantly firing people, constantly paying people to go away. That's what she's doing. It's what she's done here. It's not her or Chad Brinker's fault that these guys got extended, in my opinion. It is their fault that they continue to, you can either argue, be impatient and fire people early, or if you think that these guys all deserve to be fired, then you can argue that the issue is that she continues to fire people she continues to hire people that she then needs to turn around and fire so quickly. Either way, it's either on the front end or the back end. Maybe it's that you're hiring the wrong people. Maybe it's that you're firing these people way too early. Maybe it's a combination of the two. Whatever it is, you keep doing it. And it has to stop. And it's more than just your bottom line, which we're going to get to in a minute with the players. I think that the McCreary and the Brownlee trade are both explicit examples of what else is impacted with your team, the health of your roster, when you constantly shift regimes. But when this team is going to be looking for a new coach in January, and we're all talking about candidates now, like, okay, Robert Saleh, maybe, Mike McCarthy, maybe, like, who are the best guys out there, right? Guys, especially like a Mike McCarthy is the one who I at this point, I almost chuckle when I hear that, because I'm not going to sit here and call Amy cheap or poor. Like, that's all personal and dumb. That's not my game. But Mike McCarthy, it's relatively well documented, walked away from Dallas last year, a coaching job that he had, that he wasn't being fired from, because they played a game of chicken with him wanting more money and or more years on his contract. And he said, I'll walk if you don't do it. And Uncle Jerry said, try me. And Mike said, bet, and walked away. We think that guy is who they're going to shell out to come and take over this big, fat project of a team? Are we confident that they would be willing to afford him? Are we confident that they're not going to want to hire another guy like Callahan, who you can put on a, whatever it is, the reported $3 million annual contract? Because Mike McCarthy's not going to take that contract. I don't know for sure what coaching is, but I was talking to another former head coach, unrelated to the Titans entirely, today, about just how crazy head coaching contracts have become, especially for guys that have some pelts on the wall. And it's big money. Guys like Mike McCarthy are going to make big money. So that's the question. Are we confident that she will be willing to shell out for the best available coaching staff, not just the head coach, but the coordinators that head coach wants to bring in? Guys that could be experienced and have, I mean, like, not all coordinators are making the same money, right? Like, first-time guys or guys that aren't calling plays aren't going to be making the same that a Art Smith or a Cliff Kingsbury or a Robert Saleh are making. They aren't. Those are bigger, fatter contracts that somebody has to pay for. It's Amy Adams-Strunk who has to pay for them. So, Ross, let's look at some of the answers from folks in the chat on this question before I share my thought. But what are people saying? Jack says no. All caps. No, not happening. Hell no from Ken. Okay, off to a great start. Billy Jordan. Hell no. All right. Anybody that's not the best, or Brinker's ideas? Well, Brinker's going to lead the search. He's going to choose who he thinks is best, just like he chose Mike Borgonzi, who he felt was the best. Who, by the way, you guys all, super duper side note, people for some reason think that Mike Borgonzi is good and Chad Brinker is bad, which is crazy to me, because who, if anybody told you Chad Brinker is good, or that Mike Borgonzi is good, it's Chad Brinker. Like, Brinker, he's Brinker's guy. So is it just because Mike Borgonzi's not been around long enough to have stink on him, and Brinker has been, but you have some preconceived notion of like Brinker being some political animal? I can understand disliking them both. I don't know if I can wrap my arms around thinking that one stinks and one is awesome, which some fans tend to think. That's crazy to me. Ryan says, no, Matt Nagy will be cheap. Sure, man. If they go hire Matt Nagy, we can talk about it then. Curtis, she doesn't mind spending money. I think this is a fair take. Like, I'm not here to, this is not one big ruse for me to be able to go off and say, Amy's poor and Amy's cheap. There are some folks in this market that would love to do that show. In fact, I'm sure they have. I don't really care. What I do care about is having fair expectations for the guys that they're going to act like. What pool are they going to be fishing in? And on one hand, with all of these guys dead money on the books, I can understand why they may not want to fork over $10-15 million to a Mike McCarthy. I could see some reticence there. On the other hand, I think Amy is one of the, respectfully, poorer owners in the league who is actually willing to throw her weight around with money. I think she's shown that with the free agent cycle the past 2 years, the way that she didn't blink at the Ridley contract or the Snead contract or the Dan Moore contract. All guys, by the way, that questionable, could have been questioned for that amount of money at the time, and certainly now can all be questioned for that amount of money. To different extents, right? But not home run hires. I mean, nothing about this team's been home run, right? So, of course. And also, the stadium isn't being built on the backs of taxpayer money alone. The team is paying for a very significant chunk of it. So, if we're taking the facts on the ground as evidence of whether or not Amy and the ownership group are cheap or not, I'm not sure that there is a track record of cheapness. I think there may be literal factual evidence of them being poor by NFL standards. It's a poor billionaire is kind of an oxymoron, right? But a poorer billionaire, I suppose. But there's a difference between being poor and being cheap. And I'm not sure that she's cheap. I think that if there is some reticence in the spring to hiring the most expensive, best option, should that person want the job, it would have less to do with her general cheapness and more to do with the fact that there's a lot of guys on the books right now who she has paid to go away. And she can't help, I'd imagine, but in the back of her head think, well, shoot, what if this is the next guy that I pay to go away in 18 months, 24 months? I won't want to do it. I don't want to do it now. I'll claim that I'm not going to do it. But so far, your words are one thing and your actions are another. So even if it's deep in her subconscious, she'll know that there's a chance that I'm paying this guy to go away eventually too. Let's talk about what it actually means for the roster, by the way. Billy Jordan McCoy will be our coach, is what you're saying. No. In fact, let me say very clearly, Mike McCoy will not be this team's coach. He will not be. For more than the next 9 games. Let's talk about what it means for these trades. Because it's more than, I say it, what constantly firing people, paying them to go away means for the roster. Because again, it's more than just Amy's bottom line and how much you have to pay guys. Is that an embarrassing element to this? Yes. But that's not, I mean, there's no coaching salary cap, right? So ultimately, it's what you can afford and what you're willing to burn. So, you know what? More power to you. What is impacting the product on the field directly and the salary cap directly is how regime change, and I'm writing about this in a post that'll go up tomorrow with some more information. Regime change victimizes good players. And I don't put good players in quotes to say that they're good players who are actually bad players. I'm saying players that we know to be good, starting caliber, useful players on a roster before, and then a regime change happens, and then suddenly either they're on the outs with the regime and or they're on the outs with the fans because suddenly they're producing at a much lower level. And that's what brings me to the conversation surrounding both of these cornerback trades. Now, they were very different situations. The McCreary trade was a simple instance of getting something for a guy that you're about to get nothing for. I think it was a good piece of business because the general premise, which we've been talking about basically out loud for a couple of weeks, is that McCreary is not, well, first of all, he's not this regime, literally not this regime's guy, right? They didn't draft him. And by regime, I mean, I'm talking about the front office now. But he's also not their type of guy. They are a pretty, they're a group that likes physical thresholds. It's deeply ingrained in the Green Bay, and I think to an extent the Kansas City DNA, to be pretty strict when it comes to scouting at different positions for different height, weight, speed, athleticism thresholds. And at cornerback, at defensive back, this is a group that likes long corners. Roger McCreary and Jarvis Brownlee, neither of them fit that bill. So if the premise is we're not signing him, like it's not happening, we're not considering signing Roger McCreary, then they were 1,000% correct to take the best offer that was available to them, which in this case was the best possible 5th and 6th round swap with the Rams this next draft cycle. So I don't think you can quibble with why they chose to trade him. They chose to trade him because it was get something now or nothing later. You can quibble, I think, with why they weren't interested in signing him back at all in the first place, right? The actual premise of the decision. You can be upset at that and think, well, why not? He's a homegrown player. He's a nickel corner. Nickel corners aren't, it's not like they're breaking the bank. They're making, 8 figures, but it's not, you're not going to be paying a $50 million contract to a guy. So why not just keep him around? He's a good starter. Well, let's put a pin in that and come back to it because that's really the crux here. But I want to touch on Brownlee too. Brownlee is a less good piece of business, in my opinion, just to kind of summarize all of this. It's never going to look like a good trade. In fact, it may only ever look worse and worse. Because in my humble opinion, Jarvis Brownlee is a good player. I thought that at the very beginning of the draft cycle when I saw him for the first time at the Senior Bowl and then went and watched his Louisville tape and was like, I love the tenacity with which this guy plays cornerback. He plays like a guy who is bigger and stronger and longer than he actually is. And his size will probably limit him both in terms of his inside-out versatility in the league, but also where he goes in the draft. But boy, do I think he's a value because I think he's one of the guys that is that size who can get away with it. And I still think that. And I think that his time with the Titans, he did a good deal to prove that. And now with the Jets, where he's getting to play in the nickel, where he belongs, in my opinion, not a thing that was afforded to him while he was here. He had to play outside. And so that's where a lot of, especially the penalty issues came from, right? now that he's playing in the correct position for him, he, small sample size so far, is thriving in New York. He made the game sealing play against the Bengals in their big comeback win, first win of the Jets season this weekend. And then he sideswiped the Titans, by the way, in the locker room afterwards, which is funny on both ends. Curtis says, Brownlee said he couldn't wait to watch the Titans lose. Yes, this is a funny story that was all over social media today about how he told the Jets reporters after their noon game in the locker room. He asked them what time it was, and they said it's, what, 4 whatever. And then he's like, ooh, good, I still have time to go watch the Titans lose, which I applaud for its pettiness. I think it's very funny. I support this. I think it's also funny that the guy on the team that's also 1-7 is excited about what he's not like Roger McCreary today, who went to sleep 1-7 and woke up 5-2 and gets to call his buddies and be like, ha ha ha, buddy, you're 1-7 too. So it's a little funny there. He's actually only been a part of one win this year because he wasn't here for the Arizona win for the Titans. So this was his first win of the year. He has every right to be excited about it, and he has every right to be angry at the Titans for moving off of him. And I'd imagine he said at his press conference, I'm not sure why they moved me. Frankly, it kind of came out of nowhere. I believe him when he says that. I kind of think he doesn't know. But the Titans know. And the point here is that it's never going to look on the outside to us like a good trade because he's a good player. Whether or not he's a good player was not the impetus for the trade. It's part of it, right? The play on the field is a part of it. It's always going to be a part of a trade. But I think pretty clearly you can say that, as has been just kind of blanket statement here, he was not a culture fit for what this team, what Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi are trying to build here. Wasn't a culture fit. And when you're not a culture fit, it's a sliding scale, right? It's what Jimmy Johnson used to say about his Cowboys players. I treat everybody the same, differently, right? Certain guys, it's like the F around and find. It's like, actually no, it's more like the hot and crazy chart for girls in college, where it's like the hotter they are, the more crazy you can tolerate, right? Not exactly 2025 appropriate maybe, but you know what I'm talking about. With football players, there's a hot and crazy scale where it's like how sexy are you as a player on the field? That directly correlates to how crazy we're willing to tolerate you being, right? If you're a diva, but you're the best, buddy, we'll put up with whatever. But if you're not the best and you are a diva, which I'm not saying Brownlee is, this is an example, then it becomes harder to tolerate, especially, might I add, for a team in a locker room that is trying to build something, again, from the foundation. From the ground floor, they are trying to establish a culture that right now this place is cultureless, it's identityless. They need to have solid footing and have guys that set the right tone and set the right examples. And this team decided, for whatever specific reasons we'll never know, that Brownlee didn't fit that bill for them. And that part we'll never know, which is why it'll never look like a good trade. But let's get to I've thoroughly buried the lead. Here's the actual take, all right? These are both examples of how regime change victimizes good players. Because the human nature element to this is that when you bring in new regimes with fresh and different scouting eyes and preferences and pre-existing opinions on players, when you bring in new coaching staffs that have new schemes with slightly different roles that play to slightly different strengths and weaknesses and player prototypes, it leads to good players falling by the wayside sometimes. And I think you're seeing that in a pretty straightforward example for Tennessee, that Brownlee and McCreary, both slot players, one a guy that they weren't able to play in the slot, so they were relatively unpleased with his play relative to the guy that he was during the week, and the other being a guy they were facing the prospect of having to pay, and frankly they just didn't want to have to pay this type of player big serious money. They'd rather go find a player of that type in free agency or in the draft, and so that is their right, and they get something for him now. Those are good players that are being victimized by the fact that this front office didn't draft them. They're not their guys. I think you are seeing this in New England tonight as they made a pair of moves that, by the way, very similar to the Titans in the sense that they were day 3 pick swaps. The Patriots just moved Kyle Duggar and Keon White, pass rusher and a defensive back. They moved those guys for sixth, seventh swaps. So New England turning their own sevenths into sixth for these guys that, again, different situations. Keon White, a cost controlled player. It's not a cost element that he's being moved for that little, but it is a guy that I forget if he's a first or second round pick, but he's a high draft pick. Great pedigree coming out of Georgia Tech, I believe. And he's going now to San Francisco, where they may make a real player out of him. Like, he's not a nothing throwaway player, and yet they're only getting a seventh turned into a sixth. With Kyle Duggar, he's a safety that just got a $60 million contract last year by the previous regime, and now he's been kind of not so secretly available for months on end because he does not fit into Mike Vrabel's system. He does not fit into the way that they play ball. Again, nothing against Kyle Duggar. It's just he's not a good fit for us, especially at that price. And so they move him, and a part of that value, seventh turns into a sixth, is because of the fact that the team that's taking him is having to eat that contract. The Steelers, by the way, are who traded for him because they need secondary help. So all of that is to say, those are two real players who were traded for low-end draft capital, not even additional picks, just upgrading picks marginally on day 3, because they didn't fit in with the new regime. I think we may even be, and I have much less evidence to this end, but I think we may even be seeing this in Jacksonville right now with Brian Thomas Jr., who's had a really rough start to his season, and nobody can quite put their finger on what's going on, why it's not, he and Trevor haven't quite been on the same page, and he doesn't seem comfortable in his role, and he's dropping balls, and he's not been the dominant guy that he was. I mean, this guy was a revelation as a rookie, was phenomenal in a rookie class where he was playing, he was fourth fiddle and was kind of an afterthought. At the end of the year, we were all like, holy crap, he and Malik Neighbors, the LSU boys, are clearly the best. These guys rule. And now he has fallen from grace in a pretty significant, he's not a starter or anything, and they're not actually going to move him, I don't think, although it was at least rumored once by, I think, The Athletic this weekend that they're at least listening to trade offers, which to me is he's the 17th overall pick, I believe, from 1 year ago. They are listening to trade offers for Brian Thomas Jr. the way that my wife listens to me when I start talking about day 3 draft picks, right? They're not listening. But the fact that it's even being floated by somebody tells me that this is not quite working out. And it's because they just changed regimes. It's a new GM and a new coach, and shocker, a good player is being victimized by the fact that we changed things. And it's not necessarily anybody's fault, except for the people that are making the changes. Now, again, if you can argue, well, then the people need to be more patient with the people they have. Or you can argue, well, I don't know what you're saying, Easton, because these guys deserve to be fired. Fine, then quit hiring people you have to fire. Hire good people then. Either way, whatever way you want to slice it, you are causing these problems. You are bringing it upon yourself when you're not allowing the people that you hire to build something in their image. Because when a Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi duo comes in and they finally have the power to build a team in their image for the first time this year, which is the reality, by the way, they have every right to want to build it the way that they want to build it. And to say, well, if we're going down, brother, we're going down with the ship that we built and not somebody else's. Everybody feels that way, right? It's not just football. Think about the jobs that you have taken in your life, the roles that you've been put in, the responsibilities you've been given in whatever walk of life it is that somebody did before you. And think about the times that you've been told, well, the guy before you, here's how he did this and he did this. And you immediately go, okay, well, we're that's fine. I'm glad that worked for him. We're going to change some things. Here's how I'm going to do it, right? This is what works for me. That's how this works. It's a human nature thing. And so if Amy Adams Strunk wants to stop that element of her team being, because right now, what's the national perception on the Titans based on these trades? It's that, I've seen this from multiple people, Ross. It's that the Titans are the guy in your fantasy league that you go to fleece, to pad your championship roster because they don't know what they're doing. That the Titans are just giving away good young corners. That's the perception. Now, if you're paying attention like we all are, you know that it's a little bit different than that. It is. But it doesn't change the fact that, yes, on paper, the Titans right now are giving away their good cornerbacks for one reason or another. And that's not good news. And that's news that is directly tied to the fact that they have changed regimes. Because if Rand Carthon was still around, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. would be here, man. He'd be here. Roger McCreary might be getting signed. I don't know. I don't. Would he be traded at the deadline? I'm not sure about that. So if John Robinson was here, the guy who drafted McCreary in the first place, I sure think he'd be signing the guy that was a success of his as a draft pick, right? He'd be, yeah, let's sign this guy back up. He's been a good starter for us for years. He's been reliable. He's been available. Let's keep him in here. Let's reward that homegrown. Like, but that's ancient history, right? But John Robinson drafting, oh man, second round pick on the Auburn DB. That's kind of short, you know. But will he work out? Oh, he did work out. He's a starter in the NFL, but as a slot player, okay. That feels like eons ago because we've gone through so many iterations of the people in charge here that it's unrecognizable. It's like going back to your high school, 10 years later, and like going back to the old classrooms that and the teachers that and it's like this place has changed so much that it's like I don't know what's going on around you. Is that a bad comp, Ross? You're shaking your head. You don't is it?
I know where you went to high school. I don't think it's changed too much.
Oh, okay. Well, my high school might be a bad example. Yeah. What's a better if you grew up in the church like I did, like whenever I have like stepped back, I like visited church camp or gone to like the youth group, it's like suddenly I don't know. Like I used to know all the kids, like in all the grades. When I was the top dog, senior in the youth group, it's like I know all these guys. And now if I step foot in there, I'm like, who are these children? Who are these people? It's kind of like that. Yeah, that's right. Times change and things change in a hurry, especially when, as an NFL team, you're constantly running through executives. So that's my 2 cents on why the Titans have to have some patience, they have to do 3 things. They have to go out and they have to find the people that they want to do the job next. Like, here's my bottom line. This is not a blanket defense of the way that this front office sees roster building, right? The McCreary trade, the Brownlee trade, they may not age well. We'll see. One may age well, one may age poorly. What it is a plea from me to stop the regime changing, because this is just one rather large example of an unforced error that this rotating door of leadership causes. You pick the people that you want to build this roster back up from the ash heap that it's been burned down to. That's step 1 this January. Step 2 is give them a runway, publicly and privately, give them a runway to actually build something. And then the critical third step, which this ownership group has failed to meet in quite a while, is make sure you mean it. When you give them that runway, when you give them that license to build something, when you give them that vote of confidence by hiring them, and the contract, the next 5-year contract you hand out to a coach, and 3-year contracts you hand out to the coordinators, and the extensions you give the coaching staff after year 1, mean it. For the sake of your franchise, for your roster, for your young quarterback who needs to be your future, for the sake of all of us at home who have to deal with this crap, mean it. That is the end of my sermon this evening. Thank you all for attending. Anything we need to get to in the chat, Ross? Anything pressing on that front? Kind of a less lively night from a question standpoint, it seems. We're all good. We're all good. Jack did mention this. I'll throw it out there because I meant to name him earlier with Jarvis. Never changed, Jarvis. Laughing about the Titans losing when he's on the team that's 1-7. It's very funny. I appreciate it. I endorse it.
Easton, I got a question for you before we get out of here.
All right, Ross.
I asked Blaine and Zach this on our show today on the Zone. Like, what is this whole thing with people wanting Amy to come out and speak? Like, do you really want to hear from her? Because I don't care. I mean, for content, it would be great, but there's really nothing to me that she could say that is going to fix anything about this whole situation.
Well, you're right that for content it would be great. And those of us in media, who I'm included, want her to speak. That's the accusation we get, is like, you guys just want something to talk about.
No, I do.
I mean, that's always the case. We do, in fact, want something to talk about, especially when things are tough like this. But the reason that I genuinely, content aside, want her to speak, Ross, it's actually not that I want her to speak. It's that I want her to pick a lane. I would be perfectly fine with her not speaking. To me, she constantly has her cake and eats it too, and that's not cool, in my opinion. If she wants to be this absentee owner who is not really involved, empowers her people to speak for her and to do their jobs, and she doesn't like, fine, that's fine by me. More power to you. But when she, and we don't know this explicitly, but we know this, when she decides to swoop in and drop the band hammer on guys and make executive decisions and meddle when things get a little too uncomfortable for her, and then swoop back out and trot guys out there to answer for a decision that she clearly made and they clearly didn't, that's not cool to me. I want the people that do the things in the organization, whoever they are, to answer for the things. So if the GM, the same reason that I get mad when the GM trades Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and then trots out Brian Callahan for a press conference that goes poorly, not cool. Give us the guy that did the thing. I don't want to talk to the guy that didn't do the thing. Why do I want to talk to him? If Amy's doing the thing, if Amy decides in week 7 that we're going to fire Brian on a Monday, it's her right to do that. Come tell us why you did it. Because you can trot out Brinker and Borgonzi and say, they did it, they're going to answer for it. I don't believe you. Because I listened to that press conference. I was in the room. I asked questions at that press conference. I heard their answers. And their answers were screaming, I don't know, don't ask us, we didn't do it. That's all. So either do things or don't do things. And if you do things, answer for them. And if you don't want to answer for things, don't do things.
It's fair
enough?
Good answer to my questions. Good take on it.
Now, the pragmatic element of, well, what will her talking actually fix? I don't know that it'll fix anything. I think it'd be a lot easier for us to, like, I wish that we had a better understanding of her. Because, people ask me, have you ever spoken to Amy? I have spoken to Amy one time in my whole life. It was about thermostats at Home Depot. Had nothing to do with the Titans. That's not to say that she's, like, oblivious or anything. It's just, it was a small talk that was so unrelated. It was just being friendly. So no, like, I don't know anything about the woman besides what's on Wikipedia. You know what I mean? I think understanding that, like, it's like when you pull the curtain back on the Wizard of Oz, it's a lot scarier once we, like, get some understanding of you. So I wish that she would let us know more about her. I think it, frankly, would do her some good to not be this, like, evil, shadowy figure that people can assign whatever bad intentions are in their head to her without any recourse, without any proof to say otherwise. And I wish that she was responsible for the things that she does. I don't know.
That's a good take. Cause like we were talking about it from the aspect of, I've been thinking like, it sounds like people are frustrated because they don't think she cares because she's never saying anything. She's never in the public eye. And so it just seems like she doesn't care. And so it feels to me like people want her to talk to prove that she cares. And I'm like, what is that going to do? If she comes out and talks in the offseason and we start 0-5 next year, you're going to feel the same way as a fan. Like if you're a fan of this team, it's not going to help anything at the end of the day.
The reason that I wanted to talk has nothing to do with, well, if she would only give one press conference, everything would be better. No, of course not.
Yeah,
right? That's a straw man. You know what I mean? So I wish I would praise her for speaking if she spoke specifically on things that she did. Like if she fired Brian and spoke in any capacity to us, hopefully, in a like a press conference, like I'd love to be able to ask questions, but really anything, it'd be easier to not. Frankly, it would be a good way for her to disarm people that want to come swinging at her head for being this absentee, aloof, reactive, vindictive woman. Because that's what she gets right now with the way that she handles herself. It's what she gets. Whether it's fair or not, like I'm not even saying it's what she deserves. No, I'm saying it's literally what happens to her because of the way that she does this. And maybe that's the way that she wants it, but I don't understand that at all. So we just, the beatings will continue apace until morale improves, I suppose.
We're winning on Sunday.
Is that right?
No, but it's fun to say.
Okay, fair enough. No, I respect that. I respect you all for tuning into this entire thing. Thanks for listening to me rant for a little bit. Always a good time on a Tuesday. We'll be back, same place, same time next week. JT and Austin will be with you tomorrow morning on the morning show. Same place, different time, 8:10 Central Time tomorrow morning. They'll be talking about the future of the team, the future of this roster. Pretty interesting conversation lined up there. Buck Rising back on prime time tomorrow night. I'll be back on the morning show at some time before the end of the week, and then the game day show on Sunday. So a lot of stuff coming, a lot of written work from me at A2ZSports.com. For Ross Johnston, I'm Easton Freeze. This has been A to Z Primetime. Have a great rest of your evening.
Go home! Go home! Go home!